The Bremerton Ferry pitched in the evening chop, a steel hotel, groaning across grey water toward a city that pretended not to notice rain. It was standing room only commuters in damp jackets, tourists clutching paper maps gone soft at the folds, cyclists guarding their bikes like nervous parents. The seats were full, and the aisle was a human stalactite. Maya Reyes wrapped an arm around her metal toolbox so it wouldn't slam into a stranger's knee. She'd come straight from the site, third week as a union electrician apprentice, demo dust in her hair conduit bruises under her sleeves. Her shoulders burned, her feet pulsed. Still, when the door banged open at the last stop, she was one of the few who looked up. A small woman stepped aboard with the careful grace of someone who has learned to negotiate with pain. Navy coat buttoned to the throat. Cane planted with precision. A paper bag hugged to her chest like a worry she could carry. No one moved. Heads tilted toward phones' windows, anything but the obvious truth that a seat would help. Maya moved. "Take mine," she said, already sliding out from her hard-won spot by the window. "Oh no! I couldn't." The woman protested on reflex, then met Maya's eyes and understood the offer wasn't theatrical. "Thank you." Maya steadied her into the seat. A guy 2 rows back, beanie designer sneakers. The particular courage of people who've never been punched snorted loud enough to be heard. "Priority seats are for people who plan ahead," he announced as if fairness were a sign-up sheet. Maya didn't turn. "Try kindness," she said. "No waiting list." A few commuters smirked into their scarves. Beanie went silent the way people do when someone makes the room a line. The older woman, white hair pinned neatly, eyes the pale grey of wet sky, released a slow breath. "People are tired," she murmured, almost apologizing for the world. "Sure," Maya said, "but tired isn't the same as unkind." The ferry shouldered past a buoy. The deck shivered. Maya braced a hand on the overhead bar. The older woman tucked the paper bag tighter and flinched when the hull met a harder wave. "You okay?" Maya asked low. "Stubborn knee," the woman said. "The pharmacy didn't have my usual." She smiled at herself. "Supply chain. Everyone's favorite villain." "I'm—" Maya replied, then felt silly for introducing herself on public transit. "June," the woman said, testing the name between them. "Like the month everyone is certain will behave." They rode that way, standing, sitting, weathering until the city grew up from the water. As the ferry nosed toward the terminal, June pushed her paper bag into Maya's free hand. "I can't." "You can," June said. "Muffins. The acceptable bribe. Take them before my dignity insists on carrying them." Maya surrendered, tucking the bag into her toolbox. At the gangway, she kept pace beside June so the rush wouldn't swallow her. On the curb, a sedan idled. A driver in a black cap jumped out to take June's elbow, but not before she caught Maya's hand and gave it one firm, surprising squeeze. "Some people fix lamps," June said warmly. "Some people fix afternoons." Maya would replay the line later when the apartment was quiet and the radiator ticked like an old clock. For now, she just smiled. Any time. June slid into the car, the door shut with a gentle thud, and she was gone. Maya's place was 3 flights up over a dumpling shop that believed in steam and generosity. The studio was honest about its size mattress desk, an olive-green thrift store lamp that made every evening look like a memory. She set the toolbox on the counter, fished out the bag, and discovered lemon muffins, still faintly warm. She ate one standing up, balancing her exam binder against a jar of wire nuts, and texted her little sister. "How'd the interview go?" Anna replied in a cyclone of punctuation. "Paid." "Boston. I got it." Maya cheered at no one. and swallowed a laugh that tasted like relief. Proud of you. We'll make it work. That last sentence was a habit, a promise she had trained her life around. Her budget spreadsheet was a city of columns she could navigate by feel. First month's rent deposit groceries with names like bulk oats and maybe fruit. A line item titled Anna Non-Negotiable. Her phone buzzed again, a number she didn't recognize. Cloudbend Library Volunteer Day, sat 9 to 2. No experience with century-old ghosts required. J. Maya stared. June J. for June. It was audacious to text a stranger and somehow also exactly the energy June gave off muffins and marching orders. I can bring outlets and bad jokes, Maya typed. Bring your certainty, the reply came. And a screwdriver that knows humility. Maya grinned. She put Cloudbend time for the universe in her calendar like it was a utility bill she was happy to pay. Cloudbend Library was a brick rectangle with stained glass, winking like solemn eyes. The carpet smelled like 1,000 soft-voiced stories. A folding table near the front offered volunteer name tags, painter's tape, and donuts that looked better than they tasted. Kara, the branch manager, wore a cardigan and work gloves. She pointed Maya toward a corner cold since 1998. Dead circuit if we're lucky, Kara said. Dead rats if we're not. Both fixable, Maya replied. One requires less therapy. Work wrapped around her like a well-fitted jacket. She traced mystery runs labeled junction boxes that had been playing hide-and-seek with maintenance for years and corralled an angsty photocopier whose outlet had shared a neutral with the drama department. She taught a teenager how to strip wire without bleeding, and a retiree how to coil extension cords so they didn't form an angry knot the size of guilt. Mid-morning, a late volunteer came in with a stack of first aid boxes and the look of someone formed by habit and apology. Navy cap, plain sweatshirt, decent boots. He set the boxes down with care, then hovered, waiting to be useful. Ever met a temperamental breaker? Maya asked. I've met temperamental people, he said, smiling with half his mouth. Same skill set, she said, handing him safety glasses. Listen first. He listened. He fetched labels before she asked. He didn't grab the tool from her hand the way certain men did when the tool was an excuse to grab the moment. He introduced himself eventually when they were both on the floor sorting hardware. Will, he said. Will Hart. Maya, she said. I talk to electricity until it stops being dramatic. They fell into the easy usefulness of a two-person crew that did not require performance. At lunch, they perched on an unplugged mini-fridge and ate weirdly dense donuts. Will asked about her exam and the union, but not her pay. He asked about the repair clinic. She told him about the woman who cried when her lamp turned on because her late wife had read under it. His eyes did a quiet softening. Not pity, not a trick attention. By the end of the day, the dead corner hummed. Kara climbed on a step stool to clap like a benevolent gym teacher. In the packing up, Will set a tiny steel lightning bolt on the lip of Maya's toolbox. What's this, a bribe? He said. Come back next time. I come back if the work does. The work always does. Are you asking me out disguised as a hardware metaphor? He laughed, startled into something genuine. There's a diner by the docks that parted ways with the 21st century. Milkshakes. Maya considered her spreadsheet. She considered the ache in her shoulders and the odd lightness under her ribs. Milkshakes are a sport, she said. Sure. They sat in a cracked leather booth, names carved into it by ghosts with pocket knives, and talked like people do when the room is loud enough to hide the nerves. He didn't make grand declarations. He didn't overshare. He listened and offered sentences that left space. For 2 weeks they repeated versions of that afternoon volunteer fix pie, volunteer label diner. He texted a picture of a lightning bug the night before her exam with the message, "You already hold the light. Tomorrow is paperwork." She laughed so hard she had to sit down on her tiny rug. She passed. He cheered. They ate blackberry pie that stained their tongues and felt older than they were. Then the world hit the reveal button. Maya was in the job site break room eating a sandwich that had known better weather when the foreman turned up the news. A clean anchor with important hair said words that arranged themselves into a shape Maya didn't like. Anonymous Neighborhood Fund, traces to Carrington and Hart, real estate. Adaptive reuse small grants, no press. A set of phrases that felt benign until the photo appeared. Theodore Theo Carrington stood at a ribbon-cutting black suit, the smile of a man who learned young how to aim a face. The next image caught him in a navy cap and grey sweatshirt, half-turned to someone off-camera, listening the way Will listened. Maya's brain tried 3 reasonable explanations in a row, and rejected each as quickly as she found them. She recognized the posture first, then the hands, then the mouth that smiled as if fun were a secret. Will Hart. Carrington and Hart. Her stomach dropped like an elevator with a sense of humor. She texted him once, her hands stopped shaking. "Who are you?" Dots appeared. Disappeared. Returned. She had time to hate that she cared. Then, "Can we talk in person?" "No." "Say it here." A long beat. Theo Carrington. "I'm sorry." The sandwich turned back into bread. Maya switched off the screen of her phone and finished her shift, with the precision of a person determined not to bleed where anyone could see. He didn't show up at the library that weekend. She told herself that proved he was a coward. Part of her admitted it also proved he could follow a boundary. Back home, she put the steel lightning bolt on her counter and glared at it like it might apologize. She texted Anna without names. "I liked a guy who lied about being rich. Not to buy anything, to be liked for free." Anna's reply came armed. "Do you need bail money or TT?" "He knew you'd say yes to the truth," Anna wrote. "He just didn't trust it would be his." A soft knock came at Maya's door, gentle, unhurried. She opened to find June Navy coat cane, a smile that had already forgiven no one while still managing to be kind. "May I come in?" June asked, even though the answer was obvious. Maya poured tea because her body knew what to do with kettles, even when her mind didn't know what to do with feelings. They sat at her tiny table, like it was a negotiation table for a very small treaty. "I'm not here to excuse him," June said. "He's very practiced at hiding inside a good story." Maya held her mug with both hands. "Seems like it." "When he was 12, a reporter stuck a microphone under his nose at his parents' funeral," June said gently. "He's been trying to pick his own name ever since." "He still lied," Maya said. It came out flatter than she intended. June reached into her bag and placed a printed photo on the table, grainy security camera footage from the ferry ramp. June in navy cane, angled, Maya reaching out hand open, timestamp in the corner like a notary's seal. "I asked for it," June said. "Sometimes I need proof when the world insists kindness is a quaint rumor." Maya's throat tightened. She was there on the page, mid-movement, like evidence of the person she liked being. "He told me about you," June went on. "Not your facts. Himself near you. That is unusual." "Why volunteer under a fake name?" Maya asked. Why not just be June's smile was not unkind? Because he is lonely, and because he can buy almost anything except the one thing that makes buying feel worse. Maya stared at the lightning bolt. She didn't want to be a lesson for a man who needed to learn how to be ordinary, but she also didn't want to be the person who punished honesty after demanding it. "He's waiting not at your door," June said, rising. "Waterfront Park. The bench by the sad fountain. He won't chase. He's learning not to." Maya walked there because she needed the air, and because when June tells you where to go, you suspect baked goods will appear at the end. Theo sat with his shoulders forward, cap off the posture of a man rehearsing humility and not enjoying the script. "Is it Theo today?" Maya asked, stopping at a careful distance. "Yes," he said. "Will is the name I use when I can't stand to be my own. At least that's true." They sat without looking at each other. The fountain trickled the way excuses do. "I wanted to be near what you are," he said, voice low. "I didn't trust I could have that as myself." "You could have tried asking," she said. "People underestimate what happens when you ask instead of arrange." He absorbed it like a man who had practiced taking punches without performing pain. "You're right." Silence, but not empty. A jogger passed. A gull considered a crime. "I'm not asking for anything," he said finally. "Tell me to leave and I will." "I don't know what to tell you," she admitted. "I don't know what to do with you." He nodded a tiny motion of acceptance. "Then I'll do the thing you asked for first. I'll tell the truth. And I'll wait." He stood, touched the lightning bolt where it rested on the bench between them. "Keep it, or throw it in the sound. Either way, it's steel, pretending to be nothing else." He walked away without turning back. Maya sat long enough to go cold. Then her phone buzzed with a number she recognized now by vibe alone. "New pilot grant apprenticeship exam fees for women in the trades. Anonymous. You would know who needs it. J." Maya exhaled for what felt like the first time all day. "I'll send names," she replied. "And a tether for the scissors at the safety station." She slipped the lightning bolt into her pocket and headed toward the library. There were night lights to test a piano to convince into Thursdays, and a board member she intended to hug whether or not it was on the agenda. Above the sound, the sky lifted a shade lighter, not blue, not grey, something honestly in between. Maya filled them with work and exam prep and exactly zero thoughts about navy caps or lightning bolts. Or at least that's what she told herself. The truth was she kept noticing things that reminded her of him. How the sound of someone laughing at the library from across the room made her stomach knot in that same unfamiliar way. How the little bolt in her pocket became warm if she held it too long. She didn't see him at Cloud Bend, and she didn't expect to. People like Theo had the resources to disappear cleanly. Then Kara called on a Thursday evening. "Hey, you do side work?" the librarian asked, half shouting over some kind of chaos in the background. "Depends," Maya said. "If it's your toaster, yes. If it's your ex's boat, no." "It's a building," Kara said. "Friend of a friend's project. They've got wiring that looks persuasive in the wrong way." Maya rubbed at the back of her neck. "Persuasive." "They're under pressure to open. The inspector's due Monday. The owner's cousin tried to help." "Owner's cousin" sounds like a hazard. "Agreed. I told them I know someone who actually knows what she's doing. They'll pay you. More importantly, they'll listen." Maya agreed because she liked Kara, and because she didn't have enough reasons to say no. She jotted the address on a scrap of receipt paper, and then her stomach did a complicated flip when she read it. She knew that street, knew the building and a red brick warehouse mid-gentrification, the kind of space real estate blogs described as industrial chic, while ignoring the fact that rats had lived there longer than the artisans moving in. She'd walked by a week ago and seen the name on the banner Carrington and Hart, Adaptive Living Project. Of course. Saturday morning was cool, the kind of weather that felt like it was holding its breath. Maya arrived early. Coffee in one hand, her tool bag in the other. The foreman met her at the door. Relief plain on his face. "Thanks for coming." "They said you're union," he asked. "Apprentice," she said. but I know a code violation when it winks at me. He grinned like she'd passed an unspoken test. This way. The main floor was chaos, half-laid flooring painters on ladders, someone in a hard hat arguing into a phone. It smelled like sawdust and ambition. In the corner, an exposed breaker panel sagged with wires that looked like they'd been braided by someone with a grudge. Maya set her coffee down and crouched in front of it. She'd been in the trade long enough to recognize bad shortcuts. Circuits doubled up where they shouldn't be, grounding skipped for efficiency, the kind of cheap fixes that made things work until they didn't, usually in a dangerous way. "Wow," she murmured. "You see it?" the foreman asked. "I see the ghost of whoever wired this shaking their head." He laughed, a quick burst that sounded more like nerves. "We've got the grand opening in 2 weeks. The owner's flying in next Friday. I need this safe and passed before then." Maya started making notes, sketching diagrams with her pencil stub. She was so focused she didn't notice the figure leaning in the doorway until he spoke. "Is it bad?" Her hand stilled. She looked up. "Theo." No cap this time. No disguise. Just dark jeans, a button-down rolled at the sleeves, and an expression that flickered between relief and wariness. "Depends," Maya said, straightening slowly. "Do you want the answer that gets you your ribbon cutting or the one that keeps this place from burning down?" The foreman made a polite excuse to check on deliveries. Theo stepped inside, closing the distance with the caution of a man approaching a live wire. "Did Kara send you?" "She did. I didn't know until now," he said, almost apologetic. Maya arched a brow. "Would you have cancelled if you had—" A pause. "No," he admitted. "But I might have worn a helmet." She turned back to the panel, deliberately giving him her shoulder. "You've got load sharing where you shouldn't share neutrals without proper breakers." And she pointed to a bundle of mismatched wires. "Whatever this is, it's a miracle you haven't tripped something catastrophic." He came closer, leaning to see what she pointed at. "Can you fix it?" "Yes," she said. "If you give me the time and the budget. If you push me to cut corners, I walk." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Do what it takes." She looked at him sharply. "No PR angle. No pitch about the community benefit. I hired you because you know what you're doing," he said simply. "I'd like this place to open without killing anyone." It was almost too reasonable. She picked up her screwdriver. "Then let me work." For the next 6 hours, she barely spoke except to call out for tools or have him hold a flashlight. Theo stayed, whether because he didn't trust her or because he wanted to, she couldn't tell. He asked smart questions, listened to the answers without trying to out-expert her, and didn't complain when she told him to fetch lunch from the taco truck down the street. By mid-afternoon, she had rewired 2 circuits, replaced a breaker, and re-grounded the panel. She stepped back, stretching her neck. "Better. It'll pass now. And it's safe." Theo leaned on the wall beside her, looking at the panel like it had told him a secret. "You work like you live here." "That's the only way I work," she said. He hesitated. "Then, I didn't lie to you for fun." Maya wiped her hands on her rag. "You lied so you could be liked without the baggage. I get it. I also don't like it." "I know." His voice was steady but soft. "Seeing you here doing this is why I wanted to know you in the first place. You're not interested in the surface." "That's because surfaces don't keep the lights on," she said. A smile ghosted across his face. "Point taken." They packed up at sunset. As they stepped outside, the street lamps blinked on puddles, catching the light. Theo handed her an envelope payment for the job. "You could have just had one of your contractors do it," she said. "I could have." He agreed. "But then I wouldn't have gotten to watch you tell my foreman he'd hired a cousin who needed to be supervised." Maya almost laughed despite herself. I meant what I said. No cutting corners. He looked at her in a way that made it hard to keep her tone light. I know. That's what I'm counting on. She took the envelope, tucked it into her bag, and started walking. He didn't follow right away, but when she glanced back, he was still watching her as if memorizing the shape of her leaving. 2 days later, Kara cornered Maya at the library. You made an impression, the librarian said, sorting returns. Theo sent over a donation for new lighting in the stacks. Anonymous, of course. But I know his assistant's handwriting. Maya groaned. It's not a bribe. Maybe not, Kara said. But he asked if you'd be at the next volunteer day, and you said that it depends if the muffins are fresh. Maya shook her head, but she was smiling before she knew it. The next Saturday, she was there, tool bag slung over one shoulder, the steel lightning bolt in her pocket. Theo was already unpacking boxes when she walked in. He glanced up, surprise, flickering into something warmer. Hi, he said carefully. Hi, she replied, just as careful. They ended up at the same table, sorting cables and laughing about the world's worst extension cord knots. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. And for now, that was enough. Maya didn't expect the call to come on a Wednesday. She was halfway through replacing a dimmer switch at a cafe when her phone buzzed. The number was her sister's, but Anna never called during work hours. Texts were their usual currency. Maya Anna's voice was tight. I'm okay, but a pause thick enough to hear traffic in the background. My landlord says the building's getting sold. I've got 60 days to find a place before I start in Boston. Maya set her screwdriver down. What about sublet's roommates? Everything's either sketchy or 3 times my stipend. I'm trying, but Anna stopped. I didn't want to call. I just needed to hear you. Maya closed her eyes. We'll figure it out. Don't panic yet. She hung up and felt that old reflex kick in, calculating extra hours, side jobs, every dollar that could be scraped together. It wasn't just about finding Anna a roof, it was about keeping her dream from unraveling before it even started. That night she stayed late at Cloudbend, half to work, half to think. Theo showed up as volunteers were leaving, wearing a windbreaker and an expression like he'd been debating whether to come in at all. You're still here, he said. Nightlights don't install themselves, she replied. He stepped closer. Everything okay? Maya hesitated. Her instinct was to deflect, keep it light. But she remembered telling him to ask instead of arrange, and realized she had to give him the same in return. My sister's moving for her internship in Boston, she said. She just lost her housing, 60 days. Theo nodded slowly. That's a lot. She's worked for this for years, Maya said. She deserves to go without worrying if she can afford a bed. For a moment he didn't say anything, just shifted his weight like he was making himself stay still. Then, do you want my help? She looked at him sharply. What does that mean? It means I can call 3 people and find her a place in an hour, he said, tone even. But I won't unless you ask. And if you say no, I won't do it behind your back. The air between them felt like the half-second before a breaker trips, charged, inevitable. I'm not asking for a rescue, Maya said. I know, he replied. I'm offering a tool. She studied his face. It wasn't the smooth pitch of a man trying to close a deal. It was, if she was honest, more like how he'd held the flashlight at the warehouse, waiting for her to tell him what to do. Find me 3 safe options, she said finally. Send them to me, not her. I'll decide. He nodded once. Done. 2 days later, he emailed her a short list, 3 apartments all within Anna's budget, all near transit. No luxury towers, no glossy brochures, just addresses, photos, and notes about the neighborhoods. She picked one called The Landlord and signed Anna's name on the deposit form that weekend. Anna called in tears. "It's perfect, May. How did you—" "I had help," Maya said simply. Theo didn't ask for credit. He didn't even bring it up until the next Saturday at the library when he passed her a mug of coffee and said, "Thank you for letting me do that." She met his eyes. "Thank you for not doing more." He smiled. No shortcuts. The next test came from a different corner. Kara asked Maya to help with a wiring check at a community theatre that had been limping along for years. The building was old, the budget smaller than its ambitions, and the city was threatening to shut it down over safety violations. When Maya arrived, Theo was already there on his knees under the stage, holding a work light, while the director explained their situation. He'd been donating anonymously to keep the place afloat, but now the city's inspection was looming. He hadn't told her he'd be here. She dropped to her knees beside him. "Fancy seeing you in the crawl space." He grinned a little sheepish. "I was trying to get the junction box open without electrocuting myself." "Good instinct to wait for me," she said. They spent the next 3 hours, shoulder to shoulder, sorting out brittle wiring and replacing a breaker that had been installed backwards sometime during the Reagan era. Theo fetched tools, held ladders, even ran to the hardware store for parts without complaining. He asked questions, listened to her answers, and most importantly, didn't try to solve the problem with a check. When they were done, the lights came up over the stage in a warm, even wash. The director almost cried. "You saved our season," she told Maya. Maya glanced at Theo, who just smiled like he'd been waiting for her to get the credit. After that, they started seeing each other outside of projects slowly without declaring anything. Coffee after volunteer days. Walks along the pier when the weather behaved. One evening, he invited her to tour a nearly finished adaptive housing project he was proud of. "This one's personal," he said, as they walked through wide doorways and low counters. "My grandfather used a wheelchair. He always said most buildings are designed like you don't exist if you can't climb stairs." "It's good work," Maya admitted. He glanced at her. "Better with the right wiring." She smiled. "Hire me next time before your cousin touches a breaker." Spring came late, as if the city didn't trust itself with sunlight. On a mild April morning, Maya arrived at Cloud Bend to find the library buzzing. In the back garden, Kara was setting up tables for a donor thank you event. Theo was there too. No suit, no cap, just rolled sleeves and a stack of folding chairs. He was laughing with June, who spotted Maya first. "You're just in time," June called. "We need someone who knows how to keep this tent from decapitating guests." Maya joined them, helping secure ropes while the wind tested their knots. "Big day," she said to Theo. "Not really," he replied. "Just an excuse to say thank you." He glanced at her, and she knew he meant her too. The speeches were short. Kara talked about the library's history. A few residents shared how the upgrades had made the space more welcoming. Then Theo stepped up, not to the podium, but to the center of the crowd. "I usually avoid talking in public about what I fund," he began. "But I want to tell you about something that changed how I think about giving." He found Maya in the audience. "A few months ago, I met someone who gives without thinking of it as giving, who sees helping as part of the work of being alive." Watching her, I realized I'd been measuring generosity in dollars when the real currency is time and care. Maya felt her throat tighten. Theo's voice stayed steady. "She reminded me that the best thing we build, the safe ones, the lasting ones, don't take shortcuts." He stepped back, and the applause was warm, unforced. Maya stayed in her spot, feeling the truth of it settle in her bones. After the crowd drifted away, he found her near the piano. You didn't run, he said quietly. You didn't ambush me, she replied. They stood in the easy hum of the library for a moment. I'm not perfect at this, he said. I still want to fix things too fast, but I want to keep learning. With you. Maya thought of the first day on the ferry, of June's cane, of the lightning bolt she still carried. No shortcuts, she said. He smiled. No shortcuts. When he reached for her hand this time, she didn't pull away. 2 months later, the community theatre invited them both to opening night in the newly safe building. The play was a little uneven, the costumes clearly stitched by volunteers, but the lights held steady and the applause was real. Backstage afterward, the director clasped Maya's hands. You didn't just keep the lights on, she said. You kept the heart in the building. Maya smiled, and for once she let someone else's praise land without deflecting. Theo slipped an arm around her shoulders. Told you, he murmured. She leaned into him. About what? That you build things better than I do. Summer found them on the ferry again, headed to a volunteer job on one of the islands. The air was warmer, the seats mostly empty. They sat side by side, toolbox between them. June was there too. Of course, this time with her paper bag of muffins in her lap, watching them with quiet satisfaction. When the boat pulled away from the dock, Maya glanced at Theo. You know, you never paranoia told me why you got on the ferry that first day. He grinned. Because my grandmother told me she met a woman who fixed her afternoon, and I wanted to see if she was right. And she was. Maya laughed softly, then looked out over the water, feeling the steady hum of the engines under her feet. For the first time in a long time, the horizon felt less like a line she had to reach, and more like a place she was already allowed to be. The ferry cut through the sound, and she thought about wiring how the best circuits were the ones you never had to think about because they just worked. How safety and trust were built, the same way connection properly grounded. She reached for his hand, and he met her halfway. No shortcuts,